Empty streets and a lack of crowds. No, not Donald Trump's inauguration, but Joe Biden's silent new dawn in America. After a year of COVID and 2 weeks after the Capitol siege, the coffee run on this historic day brought a truly different crowd.
It's a little bit hard seeing how boarded up everything's been for the last week, and it's a little bit scary. And I think we all wish we could be celebrating, but we can have celebrations in the future once this pandemic's over, once everything's over, and I think that'll be well worth it after that.
I've lived in D.C. for several years, and it's never been anything like this. I mean, it's terrifying.
What do you think that says about the state of the country now?
I just think it says how divided we are.
A city now separated between no-go zones and COVID curfew. While this was no celebration, there were still those who made the trip to Washington, wanting to view history, even if it meant just a glimpse behind barbed wire.
You know, we've been so divided as a country in, the past several decades. At 53, there's a lot that I've seen, a lot that I've heard. It's about getting 45 out and starting a new era and a new chapter.
The closest anyone could get to the new historic vice president was the Kamala Harris Christmas tree in one corner of the city, a symbol of how for many her story, her journey, was the fairy tale moment.
I'm honestly more excited for Kamala than I am for Joe, which is fine. Yeah, historic, really exciting.
And I'm just so excited that I'll see myself and my values reflected in this new president and vice president as a Latina woman. I'm so excited to see Kamala Harris be our first woman vice president.
When Trump first came in, we were going to protests every weekend, and we're excited to have hopefully a change of pace.
Oh, it's a beautiful day after 4 years of this very dark Trump era, so I'm very excited.
Yet if there was relief, there was also trepidation amidst the backdrop of Fortress Washington about how this was just one small step for a nation divided.
And can Joe Biden heal the nation, as he says?
I don't know if one person is going to be able to do that. It's a good step to get Donald Trump out of office in the first place, but there's going to be a lot of work.
Our country is still incredibly divided, and even though this is the best step we could take to becoming more unified, I do fear things are not going to be 100% smooth from here on out.
For many here, they'd always hoped for some silence after 4 years of Donald Trump, but this was not exactly the calm and quiet they had imagined.
And I've been speaking to Kieran on the new Channel 4 News podcast. It's called The Forecast, about some of the challenges that the 46th President Joe Biden now faces. Go to our website or search for The Forecast on all good podcast apps. So, battered by the pandemic, by insurrectionists rampaging through the Capitol, by unrest over racial injustice, by the constant babble of fake news, has America become irrevocably divided, or will Joe Biden's appeal for unity stand any chance of success? We've been out in Virginia to speak to a range of Republican voters and ask whether they're prepared to put aside the radical populism of the Trump years, or if they're determined to stick with him. Inigo Gilmore is in Bowling Green, Virginia. Inigo.
Matt, I'm in the small town of Bowling Green, population about 1,000 souls in central Virginia. Now, this area voted about 75% for Donald Trump at the election, and there's true die-hard loyalists here. We've yet to come across a single person today who actually watched the inauguration. And in fact, I just spoke to a man earlier outside a hardware store who told me he thought Joe Biden was an illegitimate president, and he still recognized Donald Trump as his president. Now, we've also, though, spoken to other Republicans today who did say they were prepared to give Joe Biden a chance, but much will depend on his policies and a non-partisan approach.
It's going to take more than just President Biden to unite our country. It's going to take all of Congress. It's going to take the public.
What are you worried about for America?
I just want to see everybody work together and get back to being a country that works together and not far right and far left.
The reason for the divisiveness, it's a two-way street. It's not just a one-way street. And so when the left, the Democrats, talk about how divisive we've been, well, look in the mirror. I mean, we all need to look in the mirror. And so when they don't want to do that, that concerns me.
Joe Biden is putting in $15 an hour. You have to pay employees $15 an hour, which I understand,
But you're doing this to companies that are small businesses that have closed because of the pandemic, and now you're asking them to pay the employees $15 an hour when they don't even have the income to even continue their business.
Matt, I've spent the past week traversing Virginia, and I've met many die-hard loyalist Trump supporters. And one thing they made clear to me is that they felt Donald Trump always looked out for them, that he always upheld their rights. And they're saying to me very clearly here that if Joe Biden pursues certain policies, particularly over the issue of gun control and new gun laws, then he may end up with one hell of a fight on his hands.